This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
So Jamie, Liverpool FC, champions of England, first time in 30 years. How would you sum up that achievement?
Monumental. This team and this manager will never be forgotten. To be the first team to, well, you say first team, I mean it's Liverpool's 19th league title, but people say the first Premier League. It's not so much that with it being the first Premier League, it's more because it's been so long, it almost feels like a first. Really, that's the best way to describe it. And as I said, they'll never be forgotten for the team to bring the title back to Liverpool, and fingers crossed for them, and I do expect so in the next 3 or 4 years under Jurgen Klopp there will be more success and hopefully more league titles, because the job the manager's done is a special job. I mean, someone wins the league every year. It's been a long time since Liverpool, so it is something that is achieved every year. But I think the situation Jurgen Klopp found himself in when he come into the club, when Liverpool for probably 5 or 6 years, I mean, just struggling around between 6 and 8 position in the league, not even qualifying for the Champions League. I know they had that one season where they nearly won the league, but I don't think it was built on too much, if I'm being totally honest. This feels different. It feels like a journey the team have been on, just getting closer. Success in the Champions League. So I think it's built on solid foundations, and I expect more success in the next 3 or 4 years. But as I said, he's done a special job, and he's a special manager.
Yeah, I mean, he said that he doesn't want a statue, and he probably wouldn't give him one while he's there anyway. But sooner or later, that question's going to be asked, isn't it? And how do you kind of sum up the job he's done over the last? I mean, it's not even been 6 years, has it? 5 years?
No, I mean, the thing about coming into Liverpool at that time was, I mean, the people who Jurgen Klopp and the club were competing against were financially stronger, and they had some of the top managers in the world. You shouldn't forget that. Pep Guardiola's in here, Pochettino, Mourinho was at Manchester United as well. Wenger was still at Arsenal when Jurgen Klopp come in. So also got to remember, all these managers got experience in the Premier League that Jurgen Klopp didn't. Maybe Guardiola's slightly different, but he was in a much better, taking over a much better team, had a lot more financial support from the club, if you like. So to do the job he's done, I think it is one of the great jobs in the Premier League. When you look back at different teams who've won it, you can understand certain teams have won it financially. When Chelsea come from nowhere to win it, the financial backing of Abramovich, Man City initially under Mancini and then Pellegrini. But I don't really think that was there for Liverpool. It's really been built well. It's been ran well, I think, from the owners. And as I said, that's what I think it makes it not just a team winning the league. I think there's a lot more to it than that, and I think people appreciate that. I think that's why Jurgen Klopp's getting so much credit, and rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, they have spent money, haven't they? You think of Alisson Becker and Virgil van Dijk for their respective.
That was with the Coutinho money.
Exactly, that was going to be the point. It was offset from the Coutinho money, so it's not. They haven't just thrown money at it. It's been pretty much every decision they've made over the last 5 years has been a spectacular success, hasn't it?
It has, and I mean, that's great credit to the people at the club buying the players. Of course, Jurgen Klopp's massively involved in buying the players as well, really. And it almost feels like every sign, or virtually sort of 90% of the signings have worked. And I always remember a manager telling me that if you get 50% of your signings right, you've probably done well. So that just shows the success rate. But that's not just through luck, I would imagine. I think the actual work Jurgen Klopp does on the training pitch to make sure those signings work, and the actual signings he buys fit into how he wants to play his football. His football is different to Pep Guardiola's. There's a different profile of player, certainly in midfield. But he knows exactly what he needs to make his teams and the way he wants to be successful, and that's what I think the instrumental thing in the signings who've come in, really. And a lot of the signings are players who other clubs could have bought and maybe weren't quite sure about them. Really, you look at someone like Salah and Mane, the two superstars who get the goals. I mean, Mane was in the Premier League for 2 or 3 years at Southampton. People looked at him, maybe weren't sure. Salah came with Chelsea. Again, people thought he failed, he's not good enough. And now they're the two sort of superstars at that end of the pitch getting the goals that are, taking Liverpool to these trophies now.
I've seen a couple of the players actually say how important the Champions League win was for them to kind of give them the belief that they can actually go and win the big trophies after so many near falls and near misses. You've obviously won it yourself. When does that happen? Do you head into pre-season after winning the Champions League thinking we can go and win big trophies now?
I think what it does for you as a player, the Champions League, it puts you on a pedestal that you didn't think you were capable of. So when I was playing for Liverpool, I didn't think I was good enough to win a Champions League. I didn't think, when I used to watch Champions League finals, I thought I'm not that level of player. But once you've won it, you're justified in thinking that you're at a certain level. And I think that confidence-wise and belief-wise, now. That would have been a huge fill-up for Liverpool when they came back to pre-season. Obviously, they ran Man City really close. They got to the Champions League final and lost the year before, so they knew they were getting there. But once you've just got your hands on that trophy, or whether you win the league first and then you're going for the Champions League, whatever it may be, when you win one of the big two, I think the belief and confidence it gives you as a player, and almost a bit of arrogance, really, that maybe sometimes you need a bit of a swagger and football arrogance, I should say, in that. And I think Liverpool have got that really now, and I don't think that'll be going away anytime soon.
What I wanted to do is ask you about, you know, the key members of this title win, and then as I'm looking through the squad, I'm thinking, well, I can't ignore him. So in the end, I've just had to single it down to two. So I'm going to start with Jordan Henderson, Liverpool's Premier League winning captain, the only Liverpool captain to have won the Club World Cup, the Premier League and the Champions League. How will his legacy be defined when he finally hangs it up at Anfield? Well,
one of the top captains for the club, or one of the most successful captains for the club. It's very difficult to create history at Liverpool because there's been so much history in the past, and no matter what you achieve or you do, someone's always done it or done it better. That's the nature of the club, and I think that's the thing for this team over the next 2 or 3 years. Can they go on and do things that maybe haven't been done before? And there's probably very few of those available. But for Jordan, always been a massive fan of Jordan Henderson. At times people have been critical of him, which I just couldn't get my head around at all. I'm not just trying to be clever after the event. But if you're a manager or you're a lad in a dressing room, you want as many Jordan Hendersons in your dressing room as possible. Fantastic professional, great player, trains well every day, sets an example. He's a leader. People look up to him. As I said, him and James Milner in that dressing room, you know, the leadership qualities, you know, that they show. And I'm just delighted for Jordan and his family, basically, for, you know, what they've been through off the pitch, personal things as well. And I just think he's a massive example to, not people in Liverpool, I think young players up and down the country in academies, what perseverance can do for you and where it can get you to. And it's not all about talent, really. And Jordan's got great talent, but it's not all about that. And if you have, you know, a mentality like he's got, and as I said, the perseverance, and you make sure you get everything you possibly can out of your career, and as I said, he should be like a role model, I think, for, you know, anyone in academy up and down this country.
And just someone else I wanted to ask about was Trent Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, he's the scouting in the team at the moment. What can you say about him? He's a fantastic talent and looks to be a great lad off the pitch as well.
Yeah, he does. He looks a very level-headed lad. He's been brilliant, hasn't he? I mean, to be honest, I think it reminds me a little bit of Stevie Gerrard in some ways. And yes, the good players at the academy, but no one can ever know for certain going into a first team what could happen. Now, Stevie was a great player as a kid, but no one would have said he's going to be the best midfielder in the world. You know, and Trent may be on his way, or may even be right now one of the best right backs in the world. No one would have said that when he was in the academy at 15 or 16. They know they've got a special player. But sometimes when you go into the first, people just completely just take off. And it's just before you know it, they're one of the top players in the team. And that's what's happened to Trent. I think he mentions a story about when he played right back at 15 or 16 as a winger, I think for Man United, gave him a really tough time in a youth game, and he'd never played there before. He was getting used to the positions. That shows you sort of the development and improvement, really. But he's just completely taken off, where he is the most creative player. He's the most creative player in the best team in Europe. And he's a 21-year-old lad from Liverpool playing at right back. You know, and that just shows you what he's actually done to the position. He's made the position sexy again, shall we say, after Gary Neville made it very unsexy.
And just finally then, Jamie, Liverpool now are obviously Premier League champions, world and currently still European champions. What does this team need to do to kind of, you know, solidify that over the next couple of years?
I think the obvious thing is to win again, of course. I don't think, you know, when I say one title's not enough, you know, I'm not a big believer in saying you have to win it again or you have to do this. You know, you're isolated a season and saying you were the best team in the league, end of story. Now, things change next season. New teams come up, players get sold, people get bought to a different league next season. Really, it doesn't look like Liverpool are going to go into the transfer market. It's only probably at this time next season or next year that we'll be able to say whether that was right or that was wrong. But we know some of the reasons, well, probably most of the reasons why the situation that we're in financially, the whole world right now. So you can't be too critical of the club on that score. But no, I think what they've got now, I think adding to the squad, I still believe Liverpool, I'd still like them if they possibly could to add an attacking talent to cover the front three and maybe some sort of backup for Andy Robertson. Really, I think they're the two areas. I think midfield, we're well stocked for midfield. At centre-back, I think Nico Williams now can be great cover for Trent. I just think an extra attacker and left-back, because you're possibly looking at Lallana moving on and maybe Shaqiri as well. So I think just an extra couple of bodies, and I'd be very confident Liverpool could do again what they've done this season.